Hello, everybody, and welcome to The Real Estate Show. I'm Sharice Selley, and with me is Shauna Euling. We are with Selley Group Real Estate here in Colorado Springs, and we are so excited to bring to you some of our life experiences as we navigate through this real estate market with our clients, and also just some important information to keep you in the now of what's happening in the market, how to be prepared, and what to expect. Our hearts are to educate, to train, and to help mentor you through this crazy road of real estate. And it has been quite interesting lately.
Yes.
But we have some success stories of like this last week. And Shauna, I want you to share a little bit about your former for sale by owner and what happened with that.
Yeah, it was really interesting. So I had a friend of mine give me a call. And she's like, hey, can you meet me? You know, I put my house, I just wanted to try it for sale by owner, and I'm just not excited how it's going. Can you help?
No, she wasn't excited because did she get any calls?
Well, yes, 80 in the first week. However,
What?
not one qualified buyer. They were all agents trying to get the listings. And so they were like, hey, I have a buyer. She would go over there. She's extremely busy, professional, works full time. She would run over there and, the agent would say, oh, I have a buyer that wants to see it. And it ends up just being the agent trying to get the listing.
Wow.
So she wasted so much time and is like, I can't do this. I don't have the time.
So when did she actually ask you for help?
After about day 6, I think.
It
was within the first
80
week.
inquiries in about a week.
Yeah, that's what she said.
Oh, my word.
Yeah.
And then what happened, Shauna?
So she's like, take this. I can't deal with it anymore. So we were...
Take it from me. What did I do?
Yeah.
I started a fire. I can't stop it.
Yeah, so, we had everything scheduled. We were ready to list. And actually, a buyer came in at the last minute from Zillow. She ended up showing the house. That buyer ended up performing cash deal 2-week close. But the thing was, she was so glad that from that moment on, when I came onto the scene, she didn't have to spend another hour selling her house.
That's right. Well, so the point is 80 inquiries. They were not qualified, and most of them were real estate agents trying to get the listing. The one at the very end was a bona fide buyer.
Yes.
So she got that before she had actually formally, and you had a plan to list the home, but this buyer came before that listing actually fully happened.
Right.
But then she still said, now what do I do with this?
Yeah, I mean, I was the one meeting the inspector for 3 hours among multiple other inspectors that came.
Yes.
Just negotiating the deal back and forth, making sure title had everything they needed to close on time.
Talk about this too, because I mean, there was some last minute attempt to renegotiate.
Yeah, we were at the day before closing and still trying to shore up the inspection items at the last minute.
And you shut that down, Shauna Shark. Didn't you?
Yeah, we negotiated that down. But it was, one of those deals. She was just really stressed out. And, the buyer was unrepresented by a real estate agent. So it was...
Wait, and who did represent them?
She had a lawyer on her side up in Denver. But, so I was dealing a little with him, but mostly I was, handling her with, the date.
There's a lot to handle there. I mean, all of the
all
deadlines.
The questions, all the deadlines.
And the thing is, so that buyer was being represented by an attorney. All of a sudden, it's pretty intimidating for a seller who is, they just stopped the 80 inquiries, but now they have a whole new problem, which is, I don't know this contract, and now I'm going to, could I be bamboozled and I don't even know it?
Well, and she had an interesting point that she said to me when I was initially meeting with her. She said, I'm selling a property that's over $500,000 and I feel like it just doesn't look professional, me doing it myself, and I don't want to make any mistakes. It's a big transaction.
So come on.
So
there is a value, people, in having, I will say this, not just any representation, but the correct representation, even in this crazy seller's market.
Right.
there's probably even more of a reason why sellers need to be protected and represented.
Yeah, and for buyers too, because buyers don't necessarily feel, protected if they're going into a for sale by owner situation either.
That's right.
Usually, either party has never done it before.
Yeah.
So
somebody's, it's like an awkward dance and there's two songs playing. And
yeah.
You're trying to it just doesn't work.
Right.
There has to be the dance instructor going, this is how you do it. There's got to be the conductor of the orchestra.
Yeah. Everyone has jobs and has their own career. They're great at what they do. Why don't you let us be great at what we do?
Amen, sister. That is the truth. That is the truth. And Shauna, the value of you in somebody's life navigating through real estate. I've watched you over this last half decade, and real estate was in your blood before that. You've always had it since you were a little girl, but the value of what you give is, and it's just something that somebody who does have another career cannot just all of a sudden learn that in a day.
Right.
It took you half a decade to get to where you are today. Mm-hmm. And for me, 25 years, and people think, oh, you know it all now. Are you kidding me?
No, there's always
I'm a perpetual student. I'm learning even from you, from your new experiences. We learn from each other.
Well, that's the beauty of having a good team.
That's right.
Isn't it?
We have to learn from each other, and we get to share what we learn.
Mm-hmm.
It's not ours to keep alone. It's what we want to help warp speed people through this process and into better decision making. Mm-hmm. Because if we're anything in this business, we're not salespeople, we're counselors.
That is so true.
I am not kidding. I just had a closing, a big one, this last week. And I was escorted into the lobby and not the closing room. And I'm like, why am I going into the lobby? Is something about to go down here?
Oh, no.
And, my clients were out of state. They weren't here to actually be in the closing. And I'm sitting in the lobby going, is something really going to happen? Well, I will say this. The seller's agent really earned all of his stripes there in that closing room. Because guess what? The seller, the fact that they were actually selling, the seller's remorse, the sadness that this is really happening to me.
Yeah.
They were toying with the idea for 5 years, and this was an unlisted property at the time. Mm-hmm. And they had an agent, and the agent had approached me, but it wasn't formally on the market yet. So the reality didn't hit them until they were actually in the closing room. Mm-hmm. That this is where they raised their babies, where their life had taken root. This is about to change for them. And the home was absolutely beautiful. I can understand the pain. Mm-hmm. I'm sad that I'm not there anymore. I was there for a lot of those inspections and meeting contractors and everybody too. I got a little attached. I could get it. But just watching that, sitting in the lobby and meeting them at the end, the agent worked through that process with them as a counselor. Mm-hmm. As in a kind way, but in a way of, we can't do this now. You're already committed, and let's talk about your options. Let's talk about the future. Let's get you unstuck in your moment, and we're going to go forward into where you're headed to, not where you've been. Mm-hmm. But it takes, I can't tell you. I wish I had $1 for every Kleenex I've lent out, every time somebody that I deeply begin to love through this process, because we develop such deep relationships with people. Mm-hmm. But when that happens and they pour their heart out, the stories of people's lives are what keeps us in this business.
Right.
Don't you think?
Totally. I feel the same way a lot of times, especially in this market. Yeah. Some of the times we would have spent showing houses, there's not as many to show, but I have weekly counseling appointments with each. They
That's
just
what
call,
it is
anything coming on? What do you think's going to happen?
Yeah. And hello, the question that is on almost every podcast that we're discussing, when is this market going to change? That is like the elephant in the room, the Google searches that are up 2,500%, everybody around the nation. It's not just here in Colorado Springs. They want to know. And Shauna, I heard that you have all the answers. Is that right?
No, I do not have all the answers.
Shoot. I mean, I'm counting on you. So fine. Thanks a lot. So, I mean, but what do you feel? I'm not asking you to be an expert in something you have no control over. But I'm just saying, as a human being in this world right now, living in this market that we're living in, and you experiencing everything, what do you think?
Well, I feel like, it's a tricky market. There's not a lot to sell. Things are moving so fast. I feel like our local economy is so strong right now that I don't see any real sign of change in the near future.
Mm-hmm. I think it's just a supply issue.
Yeah.
And we are so undersupplied.
And there's so many people moving here from out of state too, which bottlenecks the process.
And that's happening in so many states right now. It's not just Colorado.
Yeah.
I think the game of life has changed after COVID, began. Mm-hmm. People started saying, I need mobility and I'm going to have it.
Right.
And home has a new meaning when you have to work from home, mm-hmm. raise your kids from home, live at home. I mean, home is just in high demand. Yes. I don't think the demand for home is ever going to go away.
No.
The market will ebb and flow. If inflation hits and interest rates climb up, of course that's going to affect some of the fast rate of appreciation. Mm-hmm. But I don't know that would be the end of the world either. Because some of this crazy 16, 18, 20+% appreciation that we're seeing, is that sustainable year over year over year over year?
Right. And I feel like it's just a good it's a good vehicle to put your money into. It's a good, it's a good asset to having homes.
I think
compared to other vehicles.
We talked about it in the last podcast. It's actually out of 1,000 Americans that were surveyed, there was an actual survey that came out recently, and the highest confidence about investments was in real estate. Mm-hmm. Then it was gold. Then it was the stock market.
Yeah, that's interesting, isn't it?
So if people lost all confidence in real estate, and then they would have that survey would have shown something different. Mm-hmm. Then I think I would be even more concerned about a market crash. But I think home is more important than ever, and it will be for years to come for people.
It is. Yes. I totally agree with that.
So I would just say this, everybody. When we are the perpetual counselors right now, mm-hmm. the biggest thing that is on my heart to counsel somebody today is don't panic buy. Get counseled by somebody who's truly an expert and isn't out for their own selfish gain.
Yes.
And that is what we do in our business. That is who we are. We want to help you make a good decision, whether you're buying or you're selling a home, or whether you just need more information to understand the market that we're in.
Yeah.
That's what we're here for you.
And we want you to enjoy the process.
That's right. So thank you so much for tuning into this podcast, and please catch us again in our next episode. And we can't wait to connect with you again.
Yes. Have a good week.
Thank you.